welcome to the California Academy of Sciences, and welcome to our beautiful Philippine coral reef tank. You just saw our diver jump in the water because we're ready to start our presentation. My name is Hedda and I'm a presenter here, and this is my favorite exhibit at the Academy. I come here almost every day, and every time I come down into the aquarium, I find a new fish in this tank. That's because we have 2,300 fish in this exhibit. We have more than 100 different kinds, different species of fish swimming around in this tank. And also in this tank we have our very famous Diver Dave. If Diver Dave would come on out and join us. We want to learn more about this amazing ecosystem. How many people have ever been scuba diving or snorkeling? Raise your hands. Quite a few people. Where have you guys been? Hawaii, that's a very popular place nearby. Where else have people been? Australia. Raise your hand if you've heard of the Great Barrier Reef before. Who here has heard of the Great Barrier Reef? You've probably heard of it. It's the largest coral reef in the world. You can see it from outer space. But Dave, we chose the Philippines. Why did we choose the Philippines as an exhibit here at the Academy?
Well, that's a good question, Heather. Hey folks, how you doing today? Good. Well, we chose the Philippines, one, because the Academy has a long history working there, almost 40 years. But also because the Philippines is a part of what we call the Coral Triangle. It's a biological hotspot, which means that there's either an incredible amount of diversity, numbers, or mass of life that's there, or even like very rare life. So, all of which the Philippines tends to qualify for.
Have you ever been to the Philippines?
I have not. I've only been to the Philippines and San Francisco.
And what's it like in the Philippines and San Francisco?
You know, it's actually really nice. You guys can see it's pretty crystal clear. There's lots of fish. The temperature is nice and toasty too. It's kept at about 78 degrees, so can't complain. I think it's the best coral reef diving here in San Francisco.
And you get a people watch too.
I know, there's plenty of people to see.
Alright, well why is it 78 degrees? That sounds pretty hot to me. I've been swimming recently. I went to Ocean Beach and it was cold. It was really cold. It wasn't 78 degrees.
You didn't go to Aquatic Park with all the, what do they call those guys, the polar bears or whatever?
No.
No, yeah. It is a bit cold out there at Ocean Beach. But it's 78 here for a really good reason. It's all about our corals, actually. As you guys may or may not know, corals are actually found in warm, shallow waters around the world, ranging in temperatures from about 72 to as high as about 82 degrees. So we do find that 77, 78 is a really nice sort of intermediate temperature that we can grow a wide variety of species at.
So corals and fish like the temperature there, around 78 degrees, and we see all the fish. Well, could you talk a little bit about what's behind you? Is this whole thing a giant coral reef, and how did you guys grow it?
Yeah. Well, at this point in time, unfortunately, it's not quite a whole coral reef. A lot of what you're seeing is concrete structure or shelving that we've created so that eventually all of our corals can grow out onto those shelves and completely cover it. In nature, in the wild, the coral reefs have hundreds of thousands of years to actually grow and develop. They actually grow up on top of each other. But of course, we only had about 8 months, so we had to do it the quick way and use concrete to do it. But eventually, yeah, you will see all the corals behind you start to spread out. They can do that in a variety of ways. They can either they can clone themselves, so they can start to just bud and spread out that way. A little chip can get knocked off of them, and that chip will settle down and start to grow in place. Or they can reproduce the old-fashioned way by releasing eggs and sperm into the ocean, letting it just sort of mix together and then finding its own place to settle down. So
Very cool. So this exhibit is going to constantly be changing over the years, and it's going to look really different. Now we want to know what questions you guys have for our divers. Does anybody have any questions for Diver Dave? There's a lot of people. There's got to be a question. I have a question. What are corals?
Yeah, corals. Well, let's do a little quiz, shall we? How many of you guys out there think that corals are animals? Raise your hands. Anybody? I see a few people out there. How many people out there think that coral is a type of dessert? Anybody? Raise your hand. I do. I have actually some nice peach cobbler waiting for me when I get out. But the other choice is, how many of you think that a coral is a plant? There's a few of those out there too. The animals have it. So coral is an animal, but as Hannah can probably tell you, there's something special about them.
There is. So we were talking a little bit before. Animals need to go out. They need to get food outside their own bodies. We can't make our own food within ourselves. Now, corals are animals, but they have a really special trick up their sleeve because living inside of their tissues, they have something called zooxanthellae. It's a microscopic algae. And this zooxanthellae will actually take sunlight and turn that into energy, into sugars, and give away 90% of the food that it makes. So it's almost like having your own garden in your stomach that you can consume. It's a really, really important relationship that the corals have with this microscopic algae.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
It is. Now what happens when the algae is in the coral and the coral gets really stressed out? Raise your hand if you've ever heard of coral bleaching before. Couple people. Well, coral bleaching is a phenomenon that we're seeing in the oceans right now. When coral gets really stressed, one of the things that it does, it actually expels or it ingests. It eats that zooxanthellae. Even though the zooxanthellae helps it out, it gets rid of it as a last resort, and then it'll become white and it will die. So is that happening often out in the wild, Dave?
Well, unfortunately it is, yeah. And actually, the coral triangle, they're very worried about the coral triangle right now because there's a big patch of warm water that's starting to flow towards it. And they think that if that water reaches the coral triangle, we can see almost 40% of the world's coral actually get decimated. So it's kind of crazy.
Huge numbers. But I've noticed right here that we've got a group of fish that's by your right-hand side that they're orange and they're black. What are those fish?
The orange and the black? You mean these guys right here?
Yeah, I mean yellow and black and white.
Those are bannerfish, actually, yeah. Those are a really cool school of fish, and what's really interesting is in this tank, they often act as cleaner fish. So other fish will actually come up to them and get their parasites or extra skin or scales actually cleaned off of them by these fish. So it's really kind of cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We also have some right here, and they've been doing it the whole time we've been talking. So keep your eye on those banner fish. They're cleaner fish. What else do we have in here that you like?
Well, gosh, there's a lot. There's about 2,300 fish in here and over 100 different species. And we have actually been adding to our collection in here recently. So we've been releasing new groups of fish. I think 20 new fish went in just on Wednesday, actually. So, but some of my favorite fish are these. Where's my square spot in this? There's a really nice square spot over there to my left. You can see it. It's actually a male. It's orange, but it's got a bright purple square right on the side of its body, like a big stamp. And those are called, those ambias are actually some of the most numerous fish that you find on coral reefs. And they're really interesting because if you guys look, it might appear to you that there's just a whole bunch of fish hanging around. But they actually have really discrete family groups and with a really well-established social structure. And where the male actually, in this case, has a group of 7 or 8 females that he lives with. And they live in and amongst these other groups of fish. So if you guys are sitting there and you have a chance, trying to start to pick out the different family groups that are around in there.
Yeah, and we see that there's a bunch of females. The females are the ones that look like goldfish. But goldfish are cold water fish. These are warm water fish, and they're anthias. Now, if that male were to die, I think the coolest thing about the anthias and a lot of other fish species, if that male dies, the head female will actually become a male. She'll get larger and she'll get that square spot on her side. Pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's a great survival strategy.
Yeah, it is. In fact, Dave, one of my fish at home just became a male.
Really?
It's a female. And I looked at my tank. It's a swordfish. It's sword tail. It's also a warm water fish, but it's freshwater. And I thought, now I have 2 males all of a sudden in about a day. All right, we have another question right here.